first glance, you could think it's like pigskin, but this is actually, I think this is peccary.
And I realized there was a big difference between a tailor-made suit and something that you bought off the rack. The fit was better, the quality of the fabric was better, the workmanship was better. It just was an all-around better feeling. I mean, you just felt a bit more dressed up and also more comfortable with a suit that was built to your dimensions.
Welcome back to the Gentleman's Gazette. I'm here at Bob's house. Bob, we met at a Gentleman's Gazette dinner in London.
Right, great dinner.
And when I said, hey, Bob, do you think we could film your wardrobe? You were like, absolutely. So thank you for letting us into your house and showing us your wardrobe. So without further ado here, this is your first suit we're going to look at.
Right.
It's almost like a kind of a cavalry twill. Well, when did you get this and who made it for you?
I got this probably about 20 years ago. And it was made for me by Sartoria Miranda, which is a tailor that friends introduced me to in Milan. And I bought quite a few suits from Mr. Miranda over the years.
So you like the tailoring experience and just
very much so, yeah.
Beautiful. I mean, yeah, it's the typical, the Italian Corozzo buttons, kissing buttons. You see handmade buttonholes, rounded corner, classic silhouette. Did you choose that, or was it just
I chose it. I wanted a two-button suit, and I don't like slanted pockets. I wanted a very traditional look, but I like the way the tailoring of Italy gives you a sort of a more of a fitted look. And I also like this little feature here, which they refer to as the little boat, which is a little design.
A little barchetta.
Feature. Right, the barchetta, exactly.
So it's interesting because you are in London, where there's so many bespoke tailors, but you decided to have your clothes made in Italy.
Yeah.
Why?
Well, I started out, when I first came to London and was in the banking business, I started out using London tailors. And then I had a colleague who was in our Milan office, and he said, you should try an Italian tailor. And so I did that once, and then I was hooked.
You were hooked.
I really preferred the Italian style. And so I've been, I don't wear these clothes as much as I'd like to, because I retired from the banking business a few years ago. But they wear very well, and they always look extremely well on you. So.
Very good. So this kind of a suit, what kind of, when would you wear this?
Well, I would wear this to the office. And it also is a very hale and hearty suit. And so it's very wearable for travel. So if you go away for 3 or 4 days in Europe is where I did most of my traveling.
It looks like a keeper's tweed, but it's much softer. And it has these kind of fiber dyed. You have tones of green, dark brown, and so it's easy to combine, right?
Right, exactly.
Wonderful.
It's very neutral, so you can wear virtually any kind of shirt and tie with it. All
right, let's look at the next suit.
Okay.
Now, what do we got here, Bob?
Well, so this is one of my proudest possessions. I love wearing this. This is a Solaria suit, or
Solaro suit, yeah.
Yeah, and it basically I love the different colors that you see in what it would ordinarily be a beige suit, but it has a fabric on the inside, which has a reddish tint.
Yeah.
And I understand the reddish tint was something that the British thought might be useful to warding off sun's rays in the early 1900s on the soldiers. And so they developed this particular Solaria fabric for that purpose.
Which is funny, right? Because, I mean, we know today this doesn't do anything to UV rays, but the color, having the red, warp, or the different color with green and red, creates this beautiful color depending on what angle the light shines on. It's very nice. So silhouette-wise, I mean, you just have 3 cuff buttons here.
Yes.
The other one had 4, but still 2 button, flat pockets.
Right.
And you have a center vent in the back. Did you always like the center vent?
Yeah, that's what I always preferred, yeah.
Is it an American thing?
I don't know. It's just what I grew up with, and I just like the style of it better than the double vent.
Nice.
And but the reason for the 3 buttons, this was the first tailor-made suit that I had in Italy. And this particular tailor used that particular approach.
Oh, this was your first suit.
Right.
And you just liked the Solaro because it was different?
Well, again, this same Italian colleague, who actually was English, or is English, suggested it. And I thought it was, I've always liked gabardine, but I thought this was like a step above gabardine. And also, it's unique. You don't see too many people wearing this particular fabric.
It makes me want to get a Solaro suit, so well done, Bob.
Good.
Now here we have a sport coat.
Yes.
How did you wear that one?
Well, basically, when I first came to London, everybody wore sport coats on the weekends, especially if you went out to the country. And I looked around and I saw a Valentino ad, a Valentino with a fabric kind of like this. And so I showed the picture of this to Mr. Miranda, and he basically produced this fabric, which I think is really outstanding. It's English. And
it's a red, blue, beige, brown. I mean, there are different shades of blue.
But it's a very muted kind of color. And but it also you can see those distinct colors that you mentioned, and it's
that blend together, right?
Right, exactly. And also is can wear with gray slacks or beige slacks or just about any a good solid tie goes well with it.
I like the contrasting dark brown buttons.
I do
it's
too.
A good combination with it. Excellent.
Yeah. So this is a jacket of more recent vintage for me, and it was actually done by a tailor in London, Benson and Clegg.
And I can tell, they're not rounded anymore like on your Italian suits. So I could immediately tell that it wasn't from that same tailor.
You might want to explain that rounded arrangement, because I didn't know that until you mentioned it, but it now makes a very good sense.
Yeah, it takes about half hour to actually round this, but you can see this suit is worn a little bit, and if you round it,
that wouldn't be the case.
You don't wear it, because unlike with a shirt, you can't just replace it.
Yeah.
Right? You can't just replace the collar or the cuff. So that's a way to make your jackets last longer.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is Benson and Clegg. Oh yeah, there it is.
Yeah.
By appointment to late King George VI.
Right.
That was quite a while ago. I like the gray mother of pearl buttons with it, and it feels like a high twist, kind of fresco style. I can see the different undertones. So from afar, it looks like a solid blue, but if you get closer, you can see that there's a beautiful
more
color
variation.
depth. Yep.
Yeah.
So
the buttons were picked out by the tailor. I didn't select them, and but as soon as he showed them to me, I said, "That's what I want." That's the mark of a good tailor, I think, and to sort of figure out what your taste is, and then show you exactly what you want,
and settle on it. So you'd wear this just like a regular navy blazer,
yes,
with like chinos, khakis.
Well, I normally wear it with some wool trousers.
Wool trousers.
Yeah, light wool for summer and something heavier in the wintertime.
Nice. Now this one, Bob, this is a beautiful garment. Wonderful fabric. What's the story behind that one?
Well, this is a very heavy tweed, and it's one of my favorite garments, and I've worn it a great deal. I've had the lining redone a few times, and this was also done in Italy. And I bought the fabric from Anderson and Shepherd when I was trying to find the best tweed fabric. And after about 500 samples, I found this one. And then the fellow says, "Okay, well, when would you like us to start making the jacket?" And I said, "Well, I'm afraid I plan to have this made in Italy."
Oh, really?
So he was not at all pleased to hear that. He was a little astonished that I'd come in there to get the fabric and wasn't going to use them to make it. But
they still sold it to you?
They still sold it to me.
Beautiful.
But it's really, and the fabric is worn so well.
And it's not a scratchy kind of tweed. It's very kind of
right.
It's very pleasant to touch.
Yeah.
It's very soft and fluid. And again, color depth. Lots of green, yellows, browns.
Right.
The kind of window pane over check. Yeah, beautiful.
That's also a feature of the other jacket, the other sport jacket, is that the fabric actually is soft, but it is very hard wearing. And to me, it's a feature of the better tweeds. If you see some tweeds sold in the U.S. and they're very they've got a lot of rough edges around them.
It's a looser weave.
Yeah,
it's
that's
also
what
the density of the weave. I think
that causes that to happen. Yeah.
Yeah, beautiful. So how would you combine this?
Gray slacks or sometimes chinos, and just sometimes I wear a tie and sometimes not.
So Bob, this is a nice suit here, two-piece.
Yeah.
What's the story?
Well, basically, it's a suit that I might use for slightly more formal occasions, like going out for dinner or something like that. But it also has a casual aspect of it because it's a nail head or that type of style, which gives a lot of texture to the fabric. And so it doesn't look like just a gray flannel suit. It has something more to it than that. I also think it wears much better than flannel.
It's a soft worsted, and I like your style is everything has two tones. Nothing is just a single color. Everything is a little bit. It makes it so much easier to combine with any type of color, and it's visually interesting, right? From afar, it's solid, and then you come closer, and you're like, a little subtle detail.
Right. I guess I maybe selected some of these with that unconsciously, but I do like that variation.
So how old is
in
this
texture
piece?
and color? Well, this was made for me in 2001.
Yeah.
So it's now 23 years old.
23 years old.
Right.
I mean, looks great.
I know.
Do you wear it a lot?
I don't wear it so much anymore because I'm not going to an office. But when I retired in 2010, and during that period I wore it, quite a bit.
Quite a bit.
At least once a week.
Now this one is a very kind of Milanese style suit.
Yeah.
It's that kind of Prince of Wales check without overplaid.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, I like this. I would call this a very classic Prince of Wales. And many years ago, before I came to London, I had a suit like this, but it had a red stitching in it that I never really liked. And I always said to myself, I'm going to get one day the truly classic Prince of Wales when some other things had worn out. And so this is the fabric that I picked. And this is really a wonderful suit, especially for the summertime.
Beautiful with the gray buttons.
Yeah.
I like it. Yeah, nice hand, very smooth, and even like your shoulder padding. There's very little in there.
I know exactly. Yeah.
Soft canvas, but still kind of structured. Nice handmade buttonhole, not too long, very kind of narrow.
Yeah.
But all a completely handmade suit. Same silhouette.
That's another one from a distance that can look like a solid color, but actually has a lot of variation in it up close. And this is your classic pinstripe. And I really like pinstripes. I mean, I always was attracted to them. My father had a pinstripe suit, and I thought that this is your classic banking suit. I'm not sure that bankers wear them too much anymore.
Yeah.
But in my era, they did.
Because, like, you started out like similar to me. You went to law school, right?
Yes, right.
And then, but you also didn't like law too much, right?
No, I didn't like law school that much. And then, but when I started practicing law, I thought it would be much more interesting. And I actually decided, no, that was not the case. So it took me a while to sort of find the right direction. And I did some nonprofit work for a while. And then I realized that to raise a family in New York City, I would have to do some for-profit work pretty quickly. So I went into the investment banking business at that point.
Nice. And I mean, this was the perfect suit for an investment banker.
Right. This was made in London.
Yeah?
And,
who made that?
No, I'm sorry. Excuse me. This was made in Italy. It's the Miranda.
It looks pretty much like the Miranda suit.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Did you ever do double-breasted?
No, never did double-breasted.
Just wasn't your style?
It just didn't appeal to me. It didn't feel right. I mean, I tried them on a couple of times, but just didn't like them that much.
Nice.
Yeah.
You know what you like and stick with it.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right.
So this is a bit unusual. This is a very casual suit, And I was in the Laura Piano store in London, and I was flipping through their fabric offerings, and I saw this cotton, and I thought this would be an interesting fabric for a suit. And so I had this made in Italy, and it's a summer suit, and it's very casual, but it's got a lot of character to it, and it has a sort of Solaria aspect to it. Only than having a red background, it has a slight orange background.
Indeed, and it has this kind of beautiful herringbone.
Yeah, it's got a great herringbone structure, and you wouldn't think ordinarily that this would work, but it does work pretty well actually.
Yeah, and the orange, it kind of peeks through, and it's less intense than the red, so you still get that two-tone effect. But with the cotton, I mean, this is also very kind of soft cotton, doesn't wrinkle too much.
Yeah.
The lining kind of tone in tone feels like a silk or maybe a Cupro. Oh, interesting. I see here your cuffs. So was this a standard cuff height?
That's a standard cuff for me, yeah.
This was just an inch, right?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
See, I like the big cuffs. I sometimes go for like 2 or a little less.
Right.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Now, one thing I noticed too here is that, your hangers are all very consistent. What's the story behind that?
Well, these hangers, I might wear out the suit, but I never wore out the hanger. So basically, I would just hold on to them because I really like the support they give to the jacket, and they're just they're really wonderfully made.
It's funny because we saw some like old Tommy Nutter hangers from like the 60s or the 70s, and they were quite thin. So these were already a little wider.
Yeah.
I think the most premium hangers today, they're even wider than that.
Exactly.
With the idea to kind of emulate the shoulder shape.
Yeah.
And here too, there's very soft. There's not much in there at all.
The great thing about this combination is that you can wear the trousers separately from the jacket and vice versa.
Is that what you wore them?
And oftentimes I'll wear this with some gray trousers in the summertime. And then the same thing, you can wear the trousers almost by themselves. But I like that versatility.
Beautiful. And buttons, it's this kind of shiny. Yeah. It's almost like mother of pearl, but I don't think it's quite that, but very nice. So, having gone through your jackets, what I like is, there was a navy blazer, but not even a single navy suit. Like typically, right, when you talk to people, they're like, oh, the first suit you should get is a navy suit.
Right.
But you were like, no, I'm not interested.
Well, the first suit I did get was a navy suit because I went to, I was working at a New York law firm, and I went to Brooks Brothers to get a suit, and this old gentleman there says, well, you have to have a navy suit if you're going to be down at 120 Broadway. So I got a navy suit. And I think I bought one more navy suit in my career, and that was it. I just really never liked navy suits that much.
Nice.
But this old gentleman was right to say this is what you need to start out with. That was good advice.
And if you remember, you started out with Brooks Brothers, and then you remember what other brands you used for your suits?
Well, I started out with Brooks Brothers. And Brooks Brothers was a very different place than it is today. I mean, they had very, very good clothing there. Especially the shirts were just outstanding and would last a very long time. But I migrated from Brooks Brothers to Paul Stewart, and they had clothes that were made in Canada that I became very fond of. And then when I came to London, that's when I started working with a tailor. And I realized there was a big difference between a tailor-made suit and something that you bought off the rack.
What was the difference that you noticed?
Well, basically the fit was better, the quality of the fabric was better, the workmanship was better. It just was an all-around better feeling. I mean, you just felt a bit more dressed up and also more comfortable with a suit that was built to your dimensions.
Interesting.
And then, as I mentioned before, I graduated from that to the Italian tailors.
And that's where you kind of stayed for the rest of your life.
That's where I stayed. I was very happy with that evolution.
Wonderful. I also took a look at your shirt drawer, and I noticed these are all Bud shirt maker shirts, but all custom made.
Yes.
And I mean, this one is a beautiful fabric. Tell me more about that one.
Well, this fabric came from a store in Milano called the Red and the Blue, which I don't know if it's still there, but it was owned by Fedeli. And Fedeli at that time had hundreds of shirt fabrics, and this one was picked out by my wife Nan, and I've been wearing this particular shirt for about 20 years. It's on its second set of collars and cuffs, so it's had 3 different collars and cuffs.
So did you buy enough fabric?
I bought enough fabric so that I would have plenty left over for collars and cuffs, because where I buy my shirts in London, Bud, and they made the shirt, from the fabric. You take it back, and then we'll change the collars. But you have to provide the fabric.
So did you notice that, because when you wash your shirt all the time, and the colors are new, you get less like color discrepancy? Because I don't see anything here.
It goes away after a while.
Okay, you're right.
Well, one of the things that I'm fortunate to have is basically a cleaning lady who's great at taking care of clothes and doing ironing. So none of these clothes have ever been to
a dry cleaner.
Like a dry cleaner.
Yeah, that's nice.
Yeah.
That definitely helps to kind of keep them going longer. So when you order these shirts from Bud, do you pick the interlining, or do they just put in what they think is right?
No, they put in. I mean, I trust them to use the right things. I found that Bud's collars last much longer than a lot of their competitors here in London. And that's how I evolved to basically, I tried several.
Do you remember who you tried, what your evolution was?
Well, Hedlich and Key it was recommended to me by someone, and their collars at one point were wearing out very, very quickly, even though they were hand ironed. And then I went to an auction at Sotheby's, and there was some old gentleman who died, and all his clothes were being auctioned off, and he had these Bud shirts. And I looked at the Bud shirts, and I saw that they were very well used, but the collars were in perfect condition. So that's how I ended up going to Bud to have shirts done.
Did you buy the shirts at the auction?
No, I didn't. They weren't my size or anything. Okay. I was just...
Interesting. Yeah. I didn't know that Sotheby's auction of
clothing.
Well,
they did then. They don't anymore.
I figured that's... But cool to think of that, right?
Yeah.
And so then you have a range of different colors, right? Like stripes, solids, white, but also some pink shirts.
Here. Yeah, I'm very fond of the pink shirts. I think there's the particular pink color that's used in London that is very sort of vibrant, and I really like it a lot. And then after it's been washed, 50 times, it has a wonderful hue to it that's really, it goes well with a lot of different suitings.
And so then how would you wear this?
How would I wear this?
Yeah.
I'd wear it to the office.
To the office?
Yeah.
With the gray suit?
The gray suit, yeah.
And then what kind of tie?
Oh, I was fond of French ties. I would have, I had quite a few ties.
Like Charvets or?
I use those, but also Hermes, and were the ties that I liked.
Like the printed ones or the woven ones?
Both.
Both.
Yeah.
Nice. Then here I saw this one up there.
Right. So this is Ralph Lauren purple label.
Made in England.
Yes.
I think
made
today
in England.
They're all mostly made in Italy, but this is a nice.
Well, this was a tuck shirt, and basically I don't know exactly what happened, but I had to go to an event with a dinner jacket. I had the dinner jacket. I thought I had the shirt, and when I put the shirt on, it was a total mess. So I had to go out and buy one very quickly, and I went up to the Ralph Lauren store in where was it?
Bond Street?
Yeah, Bond Street. Yeah, Bond Street. And they showed me this, and the price was absolutely astonishingly high. But given the urgency of the situation, I went ahead and paid it. But I think it turned out to be a good investment, because I've had it ever since then. And I like the way that the design, it has this broad
the broad pleats.
Yeah, the broad pleats on it.
It's actually like shirt fabric. Just it's nice. It's not just the fine pleats, but it's quite wide.
Right.
Interesting. So did you buy a lot of Ralph Lauren? I mean, as an American?
No, that's just. I think I bought some. I bought a couple of trousers of Ralph Lauren. That's about it. I never have been a big fan of Ralph Lauren.
Well, sometimes that's how it goes, right?
Yeah.
You just find your style, and not everything works for everybody.
Well, my friend who we met earlier, Chukka Martinozzi, who's Venetian, is a big Ralph Lauren fan. So where I may have fallen down and supporting Ralph Lauren, that balance was taken up by Cha-Cha, who's virtually every item he owns is from Ralph Lauren.
Well, and sometimes, right, you want what you don't have. Like in Italy, Ralph Lauren is probably a different thing in the U.S.
Yeah.
It's more prevalent. You can find it at Macy's and everywhere. So I can see that.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Good.
All right, so let's talk about your shoe collection, which is quite nice. What do we got here, Bob?
Well, this is the classic Gucci loafer. And this, my father and I had the same shoe size exactly. And when he visited us, when we were living in Venice in 1989, his birthday was occurring, and so we went to the Gucci shop. And I bought him these dark brown, classic Gucci loafers.
Do you remember how much they were back in the day?
I think they might have been, because that was during the days of lira, so I'm not sure. It may have been 300,000 lira or something like that. I can't remember.
Do you remember how much that was at the time?
That would have been about $150, maybe something like that, yeah. So anyway, in 1996, my father passed away, and since the shoes fit me, I inherited the shoes. And I wore them a great deal. My father always said that these Gucci loafers were the most comfortable shoes he'd ever had.
Because they're quite soft, right? If you, I have a pair too.
Right.
There's just, not you have that heel cap, but the front is quite soft.
Yeah.
The leather is quite soft.
Right. But it fits literally like a glove. And even though you have to be very careful to make sure that Gucci is replacing the soles on this when the soles wear out. But so I got the shoes, and I took them back with me to London, and I just wore them everywhere. And after I
with all of your suits and all of the
with suits, yeah. I mean, it could go quite well with suits. And as things became more flexible in the city of London, basically it went well with suits without any problem, and they were a good traveling shoe as well, as long as it wasn't raining or something. But and then one day I realized they weren't suitable for suits anymore, and I just used them casually. And then one day after that, I realized that the shoes were now officially a wreck. And they had big gaps in the size, and the heel had collapsed. And but I decided just on a whim that maybe I'd take them by the Gucci store here up near Harrods to see if they might repair them. And when I walked in with this box, I had a little bit of trepidation because I thought they might laugh me out of the place. What, are you kidding me? Because they were really in bad shape. But I told them the story before I showed them the shoes about my father had worn them and I had them. So they were sort of tied into the concept of refurbishing them. And they started telling me how good their refurbishing group was. And then I showed them the shoe, and they kind of blanched a bit. But they said, well, I think our head guy in Florence can take care of this.
Great.
So that's where they went, and they came back 3 months later at a reasonable price and in perfect condition.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
But I mean, it was quite a bit more, I think, than what you originally paid for the shoes, right?
It was, but it was worth it.
Nice.
Especially since you can't buy these anymore. I really like the dark brown ones, and they're not available. It's a shame they don't make them.
Yeah, I think I have a pair of dark brown too.
Yeah.
And the other day we were in Vienna. I even saw another one, but it was a little too tight, so I didn't get them. But yeah, it's a cool classic style.
Yeah.
We even have like a "Is It Worth It" Gucci loafers video.
Yeah, I think I remember that video.
So what's your verdict, Bob?
It's definitely worth it.
Oh, great.
But I don't think they're that expensive compared to some of the other shoes that I have these days, like Edward Green's, for example.
Well, yeah, let's look at those here. I mean, that's an Edward Green here.
Right, yeah.
How did you end up with Edward Green shoes?
Well, I came to London from New York, and I was looking for a job, and I went back to Paul Stewart because I realized I needed a couple of pairs of shoes. I need some lace-up shoes. And so I went to Paul Stewart, and there was a salesman there, and he showed me a pair of Edward Green lace-up shoes, the classic sort of Captoe type shoe, and English shoe. And I said, but these are very expensive. And he gave me the most effective sales pitch. And I said, okay, well, I'll try them. So I tried them, and they were great. And so 3 or 4 days later, I was downtown, and I was getting there was a shoe shine guy there, and so I went to get the shoes shined. And so the guy looked at the shoes and says, "Boy, these are really good shoes you've got on here." And so that was an endorsement that I paid attention to. So when I moved to London, I mean, Edward Green was the place for me.
Yeah.
And I've always bought my shoes there. This particular pair is interesting because a few years ago, they decided to make a loafer, and they also do this with their other shoes as well, that rather having a leather sole, has a rubber sole.
Rubber sole,
but
yeah.
it looks exactly like leather. You can't tell the difference.
Yeah. You just have a little more grip.
Yeah, they have more grip, and it rains so much here that I've seen people take very bad falls on leather-soled shoes because they become quite treacherous.
And this is also a chocolate brown. It's like penny loafer, you know.
Right.
With a kind of a slight hedge grain.
Yeah.
Very nice. Piccadilly model and Utah grain.
Yeah, right.
Thanks to Jack.
Right, thanks, Jack. I mean, I couldn't remember what the model was, but anyway.
Okay, what we got here?
And this is another Edward Green offering, and
Chukka boot.
yeah, Chukka boot, and it's I love the brown suede because the great thing about the brown suede is you can actually wear it with a suit, or you can wear it with a blazer or something, and it looks quite spiffy. And then you can wear it out in the countryside, and it basically will withstand. You can't go hiking with it, but it will withstand a lot of wear and tear. And I've had I'm on the second sole of this, and I've got the new style sole. Actually, I think this might be the third sole, and I'm probably on about the sixth heel. So they really wear very well.
So do you send them to Edward Green for the factory program?
When I have the soles done, I have them done at Edward Green because I had a pair of Edward Greens once, and I had them done locally, and they destroyed the shoe.
The cobbler.
Yeah, I simply could not wear them anymore.
Yeah, no, I get that.
And they put a different kind of sole on.
Now, this is the pair you wore when I met you.
Right. Well, this is a favorite pair of shoes, and I thought I'd seen everything in the shoe department when a friend of mine from Atlanta came to visit me in London, and I said, "Well, Peter, why are you here?" And he was going to a theater program that Yale sponsored, but he says, "I'm also here to get a pair of shoes." And I said, "Where are you getting the shoes?" And he said, "Edward Green." And I said, "Really?" And I said, "What kind of shoe is it?" And he says, "The butterfly loafer." And I said, "I don't know what that is." So he showed me a picture of the butterfly loafer, and I said, I really need to get this shoe. So I went there and and got it. Peter's got the black shoe, and I decided for the all dark brown.
Dark brown.
But they're very comfortable. It takes a while to break them in, but they're very comfortable. They have a bit more support than the standard loafer.
Yeah, and you liked that E184 last. I've seen on quite a few of the Edward Greens here that you're going for. Beautiful. But so how do you wear this?
I wear this casually with a pair of gray slacks and a sport shirt or a kind of shirt I have on now.
Nice.
They're very comfortable shoes.
Now here, yet another brown pair of shoes here.
Right.
What we got here?
This is very dark brown. This is a French shoe made by Overseas, and this was before you could get a rubber sole from Edward Green, and I desperately needed one. So I went to the Overseas in Paris, and I asked them if they had any, cap-toed shoes with rubber soles, and they produced this shoe. And I said, "That's exactly what I'm looking for."
It feels, at first glance, you could think it's like pigskin, but this is actually, I think this is peccary. It's very soft.
Right.
And
it's a very comfortable shoe.
It has this shine. And also rubber sole, French Overseas. But you went for the Derby, or that's what they had at the time, or did you want?
No, I did want this, and it wears very well. It's very comfortable, and it's definitely a shoe that you can wear in the rain, and works very well from that standpoint.
Now here, another brown shoe. I mean, unlike you, I have a lot of brown shoes.
Right. I have one pair of black shoes. Well, actually, I have a patent leather black shoes I wear with a tux, also from Edward Green. But this is also from Overseas.
Overseas, yeah. Nice last.
I saw this in the shop window, and I go to Oversea occasionally to buy belts. They make great belts. And basically, I saw those in the window and bought them. They're really great shoes, and they're very comfortable.
Single monks, same kind of slightly different color than your other suede.
Right.
Yeah, no, very, very elegant.
Yeah.
All right, got to throw in the black shoe here. Basically, you know.
This is a shoe for the city of London, and you know, wearing it with a dark suit, blue suit, dark gray suit, and it serves that purpose very well. I really like the design of them.
Edward Green.
Yeah, Edward Green again. Everything about it is just so well made, and it has a formal quality that I like.
Not a full brook, but a semi-brook, otherwise with medallion and the whole like 9 yards. This is also a cool style here.
Yeah.
Tassel loafer.
Well, I've always liked tassel loafers, and I had the Brooks Brothers tassel loafer for many years, and also then Belgian shoes, if you're familiar with them.
Yes.
They had a great tassel loafer, but you could only wear it about 10 times before it wore out. Basically, they didn't. But they look good. You know,
that's the problem with these shoes, right? Like the Belgian loafers, you wear them, and then they're super comfortable, and I think people are hooked on it.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you don't have the support built in, it's not going to be a shoe that you're going to resole 3 times.
Right.
Yeah.
So basically, this is an Edward Green product, and I spotted this when I first started going to Edward Green. But there was something about
all you can see inside here is like the old Edward Green labels.
Right.
You've had this for a while.
That I have had this for a while, but basically I didn't like this feature.
Yeah.
I wanted basically a plain sort of. What would you call this piece?
That leather strap, you want it like
the strap,
it was
right.
just connected to the tassels, and you didn't really like that.
And so, I really admired the loafer, and so finally I broke down and bought a pair, and then I bought a pair for my brother for his 60th birthday, and it's really become one of my favorite pair of shoes.
Nice.
Sometimes on airplanes, I've had a couple of times people ask me, where did you get those shoes? I really like to get them. And I tell them, introduce them to Edward Green.
Nice. So, I mean, Edward Green are expensive shoes. I mean, to the point where there may be, some bespoke shoemakers in some parts of the world that cost as much.
Yeah.
Did you ever consider bespoke?
I did have a pair of bespoke shoes that I bought in Paris many years ago. And
do you know which maker?
I can't remember the name of the maker, and I don't know if the operation is still around or not. And I liked them, but I just they weren't quite as sturdy as the Edward Green shoes. And also, what I like about Edward Green shoes is they are spectacularly comfortable, and you put them on, and you know that you're inside a really quality product, and because you can resole them at a fraction of what it costs to buy a new pair of shoes. And when you resole them, you get a shoe back that's probably better than new because it's been broken in and worn and so on. But they do a beautiful job of resoling.
So here's kind of a quarter brook Captoe Derby again.
Yeah.
So overall, you like more the open lacing versus the classic Oxford, it seems.
Yes, right. Yeah.
Nice. Did you patina it this way, or did it come that way?
No, I did. It needs a shine right now, but I really like the program you did on the shoe shines with the what's the sapphire? Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I bought some of that. I found it on Amazon. I didn't expect to find it, but I did, and it's really worth paying a premium for that polish.
Yeah,
Kiwi is, I don't know, something's happened to it. It just doesn't have the feel when you put it on. This is immediately absorbed into the leather. Well, that's not the case with the Kiwi
and
polish.
I think Sapphire did a great job. They were definitely a step above Kiwi. But I think in recent years, there's been more like Boot Black from Japan. It seems to be a very nice product.
Right.
Which, when we polished it, I thought it was maybe even superior to Sapphire.
Yeah.
Or there's I was introduced to Paul Brungard through Anders at Argentina with shoe shining.
Yeah.
And that seems like a good product too. We have to try it a few more times. But, it's like, once they're more enthusiasts, then people come in and say, hey, let's make the really best product. And it's better because I love that, right? It's innovation.
Yeah.
It's people get into it. All right. I think last but not least in the shoe department, we got another brown pair of penny loafers, right?
Yeah, this is the classic Piccadilly loafer. And I have several pairs of these, and they wear very well. They're very comfortable, and I really like the design a lot. It's just a classic design that this is the thing that really, to me, separates Edward Green from other shoe, is that you look at that design, and it's designed around the foot. It's not like it makes your foot look something that it isn't, and that's one of the things I appreciate about it.
Nice. And I can see, you definitely like your browns.
Yeah.
And that extends to your overcoats, right?
Yeah.
Let me grab it.
Okay.
So, Bob, overcoats here.
Right.
What do we have here?
Well, this is a camel hair cashmere coat. I always wanted one of these. When I was in college, I had a fraternity brother that had one of these, and they were out of my price range. And so when I could afford it, basically, I bought one and had the tailoring done in Italy by the same fellow.
Same tailor. But here you went for double-breasted silhouette, right?
That's right.
So why is that?
I do like the double-breasted on the classic double-breasted on the overcoat.
On the overcoat.
Also, it has a very practical function because in the weather of New York and sometimes the weather in London gets cold enough, you really need that extra cloth in there, and I find it's I always have it bundled up with a pretty big scarf and so on.
And you can see there's a little more wear around the collar, so you've loved this coat.
Yeah, I've worn it a lot.
You've worn it a lot.
It's its second lining. The other lining was completely destroyed after about 15 years or so, and I was lucky to get another good lining in it.
That's great. Yeah. And that's a good thing that we spoke about your tailor. They'll take care of the items because they love them.
Exactly.
And they're like, if this is the item I made, I'll repair it. It's the same with the shoes.
Yeah.
I think on these shoes, I had originally I was like, oh, let's put in just a leather heel.
Yeah.
And then I wore it a few times. I was like, boy, this is wearing down quickly.
Yeah.
And I was like, hey, Amara, can you add in a rubber heel? And she did it. So that's service level that you buy with a high upfront
Well,
cost.
actually, you remind me of the fact that when the lining gave me problems, I had it done by someone down in Chelsea, and it was just a disaster. I mean, it was, and so
this is all hand sewn. It's like Italian. So, so if you're not used to that, it's going to take you quite a while.
So I took it down to the Sartoria Miranda, and he basically did it in a proper fashion.
Nice.
Yeah.
Now, your other overcoat is virtually the same style, double-breasted, flat pockets, peak lapel, but in this beautiful, almost like twill fabric.
Yeah.
And it's, like cavalry twill almost, but also very soft, a little heavier.
Well, this was recommended to me by Miranda, and I told him that I wanted another overcoat that was a bit lighter than this one, and also had a slightly more formal quality to it, darker. And so this is the fabric that he selected for me. And he said this had some water repellent qualities to it. I've worn it in the rain a couple of times, but normally I had an umbrella or something. But anyway, this one is also a favorite of mine. And both of these I still have, and they're both in great condition. And I don't wear them as much as I'd like to, just because there are not any occasions for it.
Yeah. At the same time, I think, when you normally start, people are like, oh, get a dark overcoat, like a gray or a navy, so you can wear it with your tuxedo and elsewhere. But it seems like you were like, no, I go with brown.
Yeah.
Well, why is that?
Well, this goes perfectly fine with a tuxedo.
Yeah.
Because the dark element of it, you don't really notice that it's the brown color. I mean, I know some people have a total aversion to brown, the no brown in town slogan, but I think that's getting a bit passé now.
Oh, yes, totally, right? I mean, you can wear this beautiful brown overcoat. Someone can wear this ugly black thing.
Yeah. I do not like black overcoats.
Yeah.
I mean, you might as well be working as an undertaker or something.
Well, Bob, it was a true pleasure. Thank you so very much.
Oh, thank you. I really enjoyed it. Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
Well, I appreciate your knowledge as well, because you filled in a lot of gaps for me.
Well, awesome. I'm glad I could do that.
Yeah, great.
Thank you.